Okay, and another thing that I think it's quite complicated in the beginning at least is the skeleton panel for the generated rig, at least for this rig type, because it has, as you can see, lots of bones and bone layers, and these are the layer 30, like area 51. Now this is the layer for the deformed bones, the deaf bones, as you can read here. And so these are the IK chain, right? These bones are all parented, I guess, parented, connected one to each other. Tentacle, yes, apparently yes, okay. And this one is parented, directly parented to the root. So the deformed bones here, they also have bone constraints, which would be like copy transforms, all copy transforms to org bones, original bones, I guess, which are, I know, the last layer, so it's layer 32. So you see org, tentacle, so those bones here, they also have bone constraint, copy transforms again, but now towards the mech bones, mech, tentacle, IK, so this will be on this layer here of the mech bones, the penultimate layer, layer 31, and this, it's here in this bone that we've got the Spline IK bone constraint. So all this IK chain is constrained to this. Usually I do that directly on the deformed bones. Yes, there are this copy scale that not gonna address right now. Switch parent, this is intriguing. I don't know about this. Lots of functionalities, right? What is interesting anyways here is that the deformed bones are constrained to the org bones, which are constrained to the mech bones. And then these are the bones that are constrained to the splines, at least those in the chain. This is the IK chain, the real IK chain for the Spline IK bone constraint. So lots of functionalities. I don't know half of all this stuff. I could delete lots of those things and make this thing as simple as I make from scratch, but then I'd have to, it would be lots of work. So for now, I'm just trying to make it as simple as I can with the least effort, like straightforward, right? So, and there is also a last bone constraint here, which I found, copy location. So this is copy location from a bone this far other layer for some reason. And this is because I've actually tried to simplify stuff, right? Remember that in here, the rig type, or the options for this rig type, I've already got this option disabled. That would generate another yet layer of F-key controls that might be good for tentacles, right, on this rig. More, even more bones, yes. But they're not using that, and it would be nice if we had other options like this to make it simpler. Okay, so in this case, the way the curve ends and the way the curve starts, it's not very interesting for the eyebrow rig. But this is good set up when the curve that we are dealing with is cyclic, as I have shown you in the beginning, if you may remember. So because then it's easier to have smoother connection on the joint. Otherwise it creates some extra controllers that actually cause trouble. That would be very complicated to solve with all those bones, I guess. So that's why, but in this case, what we're gonna do to solve this, I can delete all that, right? I will just add another single bone, then I'm gonna extrude this straight like that, then we go on pose mode, then we get here and add the tentacle, yes, so not confuse limbs spline tentacle with limbs simple tentacle, which is something from the Rigify built-in. It's not Spline IK, it's another setup. Let's go to the options. Now I'll add here 2 controllers in the middle and extra start 1 instead of 0 as I had previously. Same for here, just 1. And here let's create this F key control so that just to see what happens. And so that's ready, I think. So generate rig. Then if I get here, let me first hide this. So now you see that the curve is much better at the end. The tip of the curve, it was like had some tiny small curvy orientations. Not very interesting, not very versatile. And here I have on both ends a versatile point. Okay, and just to show you that yes, those would be some FK controllers, right? Yes, here. Maybe I have to switch, right? Yes, so I don't know how to use this properly, so let's go back to the meta rig, which is here, and now we can see that I'm gonna make this not optimal for the prescription of this rig type. I'll make this curvy, and I can regenerate, and there you go, all remade from scratch. That's very cool, right? And so you see it's working again. It has nothing to do with the orientation of the bones. Okay, so I've created here a small system to compare. In this rig I have here made it manually. I've just included this, and I know that this will generate no error by doing that. Like, well, I want to make this rig type. I don't need to combine this rig type with others to make it work. Maybe for some rig types, but this one probably not. While if we take the sample, like limb, spline, tentacle, and add this sample, then we get this one to be the one with the limb, spline, tentacle, and this one to be basic super copy. And this one we don't have this basic super copy. So when I generate this, that will be like the optimal for tentacle rig, I guess. And this is the extra bone that is created. It's like a master bone, but then there is this one which is called tentacle 1 master. So they do like something like a chain like that, the root, the base, the tentacle master. But if we check the parenting, this base is parented to the root, as we should expect, but it has no immediate children, so nothing is directly parented to it. However, I've found out that in the org bones, layer 32, this org bone apparently is the only one which has got a copy transforms targeting the base, that generated bone. However, at the same time, this bone has a relation with of parenting. It is parented to the root. So it's not a problem because it got redirected in terms of its bone constraint target. So if I check here just to make sure, let's make just take this off to make it simple, and then I can generate rig. Then we see now there is no base, it is just not there anymore. But if I go there on the org bone constraints, you see there's no more base target. Instead there is mech bone IK, which is the first one on this chain here of bones. it compensates for the fact that it lost that base bone. For this tutorial to make sense, we need to address a problematic which relates to the inclusion of Rigify Addon on certain workflows. For example, in my case, I have a character that already has a rig, which is not a meta rig, and I'm trying to make those Spline IK rigs, automated stuff with this Rigify Addon features set, to make those things like somewhat separated generated rigs that I want to include, like on my main armature that is not a generated rig nor is a meta rig, because it doesn't possess those things, right, the rig types, but it still have the potential to become a meta rig. Because you see, I'll create this from scratch, this new armature object, and it has the Rigify panels. Same for this one, which is the one that, as you remember, I have placed here the tentacle rig type, and this is ready to be generated, to generate rig. So it maintains the original meta rig, which has the potentiality of regenerating rig, or even, and it created the generated rig which lost its panels, even on pose mode. See, nothing else related to Rigify Addon, although it might still have sidebar stuff, like, for example, I guess here I can check some of those things. I'm not familiar with this, but I believe these ones are Rigify related. Yes, these probably are Rigify related panels. So these ones lost the potentiality for generating rig. As far as I know, this is kind of irreversible unless with Ctrl Z, but these ones still have the potential to do that. This is a meta rig because it is able to generate or regenerate immediately, and this one you cannot generate because it's an armature object which bones no one got any rig type. And if you combine things wrongly, a lot of things can happen. For example, let's delete this one and let's delete this one. So if I combine this armature and join here, well, this kind of worked. Let's see. Yes, this didn't break the rig anyhow. While if we do the opposite, if we join the generated rig to a meta rig or an armature object that contains the potentiality to generate rigs, then of course this is broken because of, in part, of the origins. But then let's try again. I don't know exactly what broke, but certainly the rig doesn't work anymore. And if we check here now, my Rigify, all this whole armature got back its ability to generate rig. And I don't know here which bone here has some rig type. I think nothing has rig type, but it will allow me to nonetheless to regenerate rig with some. Yeah, so this is strange. I don't know why it allows me to make that.